Welcome to our Directors Guild of America Awards TV nominees panel. Today we're joined by Declan Lowney from Ted Lasso, Nzingha Stewart from Daisy Jones and the Six, and Sarah Adina Smith from Lessons in Chemistry. Thank you all for being here and congratulations on your nominations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, directing episodic TV is such a different beast from directing a film or a music video or a concert or a documentary. And so what is one thing that's unique about the TV experience that you really like? Declan, let's start with you. You've been at this for a while.
For a while, still struggling. I guess I've never seen myself as an auteur particularly, and so in episodic TV, that's one thing you certainly don't need to have, or maybe don't want to have, because there's not a whole lot of room for it. And I think in episodic TV, as well as making your episode as amazing as it is and as best it can be, there is a huge amount of fitting in with and working within the parameters of the show instead of coming in going, I'm going to do it all like this or like this. I think an ability to fit in is really, really important, but you also don't want to do exactly what the last director did. So it's just trying to find that balance of trying to put your own fingerprints on whatever you make, but not in such a way that it gets in the way or that you kind of jar in the system. These things are very well-oiled machines, and Ted Lasso was a massive machine, and it had to be very well-oiled in order to get it all done. So an ability to fit in and move with it was really, really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you guys had so many moving parts and different voices and collaborators too. So, and then like all the football stuff, the soccer stuff. Yeah. Nzingha, how about you?
I love the collaboration with the writers. I think that you're certainly more involved with the writers when you're an episodic. And I always feel like they will give a note that I never thought of because they were so intentional about how they wrote the thing. And sometimes my instinct is to be like, I don't know about that. But then you try it and it's something you would have never given that note. And so you see something else start to emerge from the two of you working together. I always feel like my job is sort of to excavate what was in the writer's subconscious. But every once in a while, like the on the nose, like exactly what they wanted is like, it's always like what I don't naturally gravitate towards, but it makes something that's more special than if it was you by yourself or the writer by yourself. And I also like meeting other directors in the process and like working with them and like, so you're going to do this. I have that same location. Can you do this? Or I'm going to have to cover this for you because you're not going to be in the same state. What do you want from, do you want to send me a shot list? Let's work together. Like, so there's something really fun in just getting to meet your peers and work with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think all of you guys had that situation where you're passing the baton to other directors or receiving the baton. So Sarah, what about you?
Yeah, I would echo it's true. I think sometimes when as directors we feel like we're working in silos and we don't get to interact with other directors as much, and that's something that's really nice in TV. And I was fortunate to get to direct the pilot block of Lessons in Chemistry, so really start the show off. And I felt like I think what I like about TV is when I don't know if to be honest, separate it that much from films. Like I don't know that I've maybe been doing it long enough to really know the difference between making a film and directing the pilot of a show, except that I feel this greater responsibility when I'm doing the opening episodes of a show that I have to build the world in such a way that other people can then go play in it after I'm gone. And also just like setting up trying to set the vibe of the show and the process so that people are just hopefully bringing out their best and working together well. And that when I'm, I feel a responsibility when I'm passing the baton that then everybody is off and running and have found their momentum and that someone can easily slip in and then keep the show going. So in that way, it does feel more like a relay race than just, a solo sprint. And that's really fulfilling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Well, in all of your nominated episodes, the Ted and Daisy finales and episode 2 of Lessons, like there are several important scenes or memorable scenes, and like shooting, there's a lot of logistics involved, and you don't often have control over the shooting schedule, but when there is a pivotal scene in your episode, do you like having that early in the schedule or later when you have more time to plan and talk about it with the actors and the crew, or does it not matter to you?
I mean, ideally, I'll jump in and say, like, ideally, it'd be, great to be able to schedule based on how we, feel like actors will be finding their groove and the crew will be finding their groove. But it sort of almost never works out that way. And I think the very first scene we shot with Lessons in Chemistry was like an incredibly important scene between Bree and Lewis's characters. And so, but I tend to enjoy that type of pressure too. I think it's fun to sort of just jump dive headfirst into deep waters. And I think it makes everybody have to work at the top of their game and kind of come alive and step up to the challenge. So I think that's not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm. And Nzingha, how about you? I mean, you had a gigantic concert and you had, a key final scene as well.
Yeah, I tend to like to tackle the big, huge thing first so that we all have the energy for it. We've all been like planning and getting nervous about it. But I'd like the gods don't always want what you want. And so of course on Daisy, when we had the huge 30,000 seat arena scene, of course, one of our leads gets COVID. And so we show up that day with like all of our resources in this huge set. And by the time we tested, we're like, so we're not going to do that today. But yeah, no, I like to get it out the way. That was not the case in Daisy. We had to go back to the drawing board. And it ended up being a good thing. Like there were things that, because Daisy was the concert, but it's also all the beats that they play, acting performance wise to each other, that like just having that little bit more time to shoot pivotal scenes of the actors, like that pays off later in the concert, ended up being a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Declan, how about you? You also had a musical moment in the finale.
Yeah, no, we did. And again, that stuff's rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed. I mean, yeah, you don't often get to input into your own schedule because by the time you turn up, sometimes they're telling you that's when the big stuff's going to happen. That's when that's going to happen. And weirdly, I've done the last episodes, the last 3 jobs I've all been the final episodes of the season. And you're also inheriting crew who are usually really, really tired. So anything you can do coming in with some fresh air or fresh energy is helped. And so I find, stacking the bigger stuff toward the end is better because it gives me a bit of time to get to know everybody. But yes, the later you go, the more tired everybody is. And that's just part of the deal of doing the season finales, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Do you guys have any rituals as a director? Like you hear often, some directors wear the same clothes. They have like a uniform every day because that's one fewer thing they have to think about because they have to make so many decisions during the day. Do you guys have anything like that, or just, I don't know, like a motto or something you say to the entire crew every day?
I do not. I do.
No, you're not superstitious about anything. No,
I'm not. I do have dance breaks
that's
at
something.
the end of lunch because I feel like, again, like it wakes people up, but it also sort of, and it depends on the day. If it's a really sensitive scene, I won't do that. Or if, I know it's a really emotional scene or time, but whenever it feels like, the crew could use it or the actors could use it to wake up, I will. Like I actually am very careful about who our playback person is because they are also our DJ and I will play music and like have a little dance break to just get people loose again and out of their heads.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Dance break. I'm not sure how it would land if I tried it, but that's a really, really cool idea. So many people wear black on the set. I always try and wear color of some sort and make anything you can do to make it a little bit easier for people to find you. Also, I've noticed my face is very red, so maybe the high blood pressure also helps people spot you. I think anything that makes it a bit easier for people to find you and go, yeah, ask him.
Yeah, there's always someone looking for you. So, all right. Sarah, what about you?
I think it depends. It's maybe different for every show or for every movie. I'm a little bit of like a method director in a weird way, where I try to like tune myself to the material, and I don't exactly know how to describe that, but really, or to the day, like what is the work of the day, and sort of like I'm using myself to sort of set the tone of the day. So if it is like calls for a dance party, then it's a dance party, or if it's like really intense, then it's like sort of making sure that I'm helping to set the space so that we can do that intense work, but that everybody's also feeling safe and understanding that that's the craft that we're doing and that's not real life. It's hard to, I don't know, these are ephemeral things, but I guess it's just sort of like keeping an awareness of the way that I am, I guess, holding myself that day as a way to help set the tone for the work. And then the other thing that came to mind, I don't know, this isn't superstition and really a ritual, but I've gotten addicted to those little 5-hour energy like gas station drinks that I tend to like keep near the monitor, and like it somehow brings me comfort, and I nurse it throughout the day. I don't like drink it all at once, and I just take like little sips, and somehow that lets me know that like everything's going to be okay, just to know that it's there.
Yeah, you need to get energized for the rest of the day, right? So there you go.
It's mama's little helper, little
Yeah.
magic bottle.
Well, lastly, what have you learned from each of these shows that you'll take on to your next project?
So, I mean, Lasso was such an unusual and unique set of circumstances, but something that Nzingha said at the beginning there was just, tuning into what the writers are trying to do. Sometimes it can be, so the writers on the show are also, they've been there for 3 or 4 months, so you're turning up and you're in and out in 2 weeks. And sometimes it is hard, I find it hard to crack them sometimes, and you thought that you don't want to ask them too many questions, but you also, you need to be informed, don't you? And, like you get asked to give a note that you don't understand because you weren't here 6 weeks ago when they did that scene, or I don't know that in 4 episodes time she's going to do that. So sometimes the validity or the understanding notes is difficult, I find, when you're somebody who's coming through. So yes, trying to get into the writer's brain as much as possible and have a relationship with them is important.
I think for me, that I can do something of that scope. I had Daisy was unusual in that we only had 2 blocks, and I had the back block, and they were also unusual and episodic in that they let me bring my own DP, my own first AD, because we were leaving LA. We shot all our block in New Orleans. So it felt like, when you said earlier, it's not a music video, it's not film, it's not a documentary. In our case, it was all of those things. Like, it was music, and it was literally a documentary format for how the device to tell the story. And it was like story and a huge, massive concert that, like, when we started 4 episodes before on my block, I was like, just thankfully kick that can down the road. Like, when we get to New Orleans, we'll figure it all out. But I was up for weeks, like, with fear of just how big it is, like the whole company moving to another state, such huge concerts. It ended up cutting to like a 90-minute episode, and then we went backward to make it 60. And I don't know that I had the confidence before doing it to know that I could do it. Like, now I feel like I can do things with scope. I can figure that out, just, bite by bite. Like, I can do it.
Yeah, sure. Sarah, what about you?
With lessons, every day I wanted to come with really fresh eyes to the scenes and think about how can I do something surprising, do something challenging. Yes, it's TV and we're on a tight schedule, but I was really fortunate. I had the best crew I've ever worked with, like, truly from top to bottom. And my AD team was just like stellar. It was, my camera team was top notch, art, everybody. And so I felt like I really wanted to rise to their level and really push us every day to stretch a little bit. And I think that's what I learned, is like, it made the process so much fun and really exhilarating, and it was a good reminder to keep pushing the boundaries and taking risks, even on a TV schedule. I think that's something I want to continue to do.
Yeah, sure. Well, we have to wrap, unfortunately, but thanks so much for your time. It was great speaking with all of you, and congratulations again on your nominations.
Nice
Thank
to meet
you.
you all. See you on the
So
10th.
great to meet you guys.